All right, this is my project, my museum project that I did on the Griffin Museum of Science and Industry. So I went here about a month ago. I went with my girlfriend. You can see down the bottom right. That's a picture of us showing we were there. We took it beside the submarine that was there, and it was a pretty cool experience. I did mine on mainly the train exhibit, so that's what I'll be talking about today. The train exhibit. So the first part of the train exhibit is this Empire State Express. Um, it's pretty much the first thing you see right when you walk in there, which I really like the setup of that, because it's kind of a good intro of how like the main train worked during this Industrial Revolution time period, and kind of set the tone for the rest of the exhibit. There wasn't really anyone to like. There was no one giving train exhibits. It was more of a walk up and read the signs and climb on the train kind of exhibit. But I still thought it was super cool, and obviously that's why I did my project on it. So when you walk up to it, there's that sign that says "Welcome all aboard," and it just gives some details that I kind of highlighted on my notes here. It was called the State American Express, note 999. It actually had a world record at the time for being the fastest, so it went 112 and a half miles per hour. I was shocked on how heavy it was. So in that top right photo, that's all that this is talking about when it says it's 124,000 pounds, which obviously that thing's no longer than 50, 60 feet, and weighing that much shocked me for sure. It also talks about the design. So in the bottom right corner, I kind of have the photo. It talks about the manufacturer from New York, the designer, the year it was built, how it runs, the engine, kind of things like that. And then you climb up these stairs and actually get on the train, which was also, I thought, was a pretty cool part of the exhibit, how you can really get on it. And it talks about the engineer. You can see there's a guy sitting right there in the bottom right of my slides. You can see the actual engine there. They kind of got that coal thing set up. And then you turn around, and on the bottom left of my photos, it shows how much coal is sitting there, which was insane. Obviously, it's almost overflowing off of it. It said in the top right there that this train burns 40 to 200 pounds of coal per mile. That's obviously a big dispersion, but I guess the quality of coal varied a lot during this time period with these trains. So that really factored into how much coal they would use. And it also factored into how much water they had on board. So I didn't know, obviously, how this works before I went to this exhibit, because I'm used to, a four-stroke engine. In the time period that we live in, pretty much everything runs off that, from cars to your lawn tractor to airplanes. But this coal system is coals. They would obviously put it in that little burner there, and then water would go in there, and it would create steam off of the heat, and that's how they would get the power to push the pistons back and forth to move the wheels on the track. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was also cool that they had the technology this time to, when this thing would go nearby water, or like over bridges that had water, it was able to collect more water. That's what it said on this part of the exhibit right here. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then it talks about, the engineer's role and how, they have to start it and shovel more coal in there and control the amount of water and such. So I think they did a really good job with this exhibit and having everything, or this part of the exhibit, where they would have these little signs to go with every little part of it that talked about it. And if you stood there and actually read the sign like I did, it explained it really well and made it much more interesting. Moving on to a different kind of train, I thought this was worth putting in here, but it's kind of a smaller thing. This American Oil Company, this thing's a little gas train thing, I guess. So it basically moves when cars were first coming out. Gasoline to fuel the cars, it says right here, I'm just reading off this, were horse-driven tankers. So that was before they had gas stations really became a thing. They used this thing and horse-drawn tankers to fuel your car. So I guess you would drive your car up to the gas station. Sorry, not the gas station. The train station, and you'd be able to get it filled up there before they became more established. I didn't know that existed, so I thought that was kind of cool and worth adding. The next type of train they had is this cable grip train. So this was something a little different. This is more for like inner city travel, I guess. So it's much more slower passenger thing. Like the first train we talked about could move some cargo and stuff like that, and was really important for the Industrial Revolution and moving things between big cities and moving people between big cities, so that, you know, we became more advanced by connecting these cities, where this was for, again, like I said, inner city travel. Went much slower, 9 to 15 miles an hour. Obviously, it's going down the street, so you can't have it going 100 miles an hour like the other one. This thing had no engine actually built into it, which I think is kind of cool. It ran off of cables, so it was connected to a cable where it basically drew power from in the street. And we still have a modern example of this today. Obviously, we have modern examples of trains too, but I thought this one was, like, not every city has this. I'm from Toronto, Canada, so they have something called the TTC there, which I put the photo in. It's tough to tell in the photo, but this thing is also cable powered. It runs in the middle of the street in the more inner city parts, and we still use this to get around today. So I thought it was cool to add this in as well. The next part of the exhibit that I went to was this. I added a video here. There's two videos. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it within the actual slideshow. So if you're at this point, you might need to go over to one of the videos that I submitted, because I couldn't get it in there for whatever reason. Google Slides was being a pain. But it basically shows this big, like these figures of the Chicago area, and how these where the trains would start, all the train stations, and then it moves all throughout the country, you know, through the mountains, through more flatlands, the prairies, all that, and showed each spot of it showed, you know, why the train going through here was important and what it did for that part of the town. So that was pretty cool too, seeing the things that they're transporting in and stuff. I thought that really, and it was just cool to look at. So it made the experience much better. I think without that part of the exhibit, it would be a little bit dull just going on the trains and reading that stuff. Because you'll see in the video, it actually shows the trains moving and stuff. So yeah, and then that second video is just like this. They create like tornadoes, basically, like a little tornado in there that you can see visually, and it's pretty cool. You can go up there. There's lots of things there that you can interact with. And that was one of them. So you could change where the wind was coming from to create that tornado. And it was kind of cool to mess around with. They had another one where it was, you could like make your own tsunami, and it would push the water and like knock it onto land, and it would show the damage that it would create and stuff. So that was pretty cool. And then, yeah, the other exhibits, I kind of talked about that tornado one. I put a photo there from online. All these photos are from online on this slide. And then that photo in the bottom left there is that submarine. There's a tour you can do for that. We chose not to do that when we were there. And then they have a space one, so there's some stuff from NASA, SpaceX, stuff like that. Again, they have another cool exhibit where you can like interact, like you can like pack your bag to space. So that was cool. And then they had this ocean one. It was pretty cool. You go in this room and it's all like TVs. You can walk in, and they give this little exhibit on the ocean, and it's mostly like stuff relating to the environment. And they have aviation stuff. I'm an aviation major, so we checked that out. That was pretty cool. They had this fighter pilot thing where you sit down and you actually like fly the plane, and the other person like shoots. And it actually like goes 360 degrees. I think we paid like $20 for it, and you go in there and you're in like a little box, and it feels like you're actually flying. So that was super cool. The only downside I had about this museum is that some of those things that were interactive that were really fun in some of the exhibits were broken. So you couldn't actually, like, you didn't get the full experience of it because so many things were broken, which was a little disappointing. But the things that did work were super cool. All right, and then summary of my experience. Like I said, I had a good experience. I just wish that maybe some of those things that were broken would be fixed and working. Especially, I don't know how much, can't remember exactly how much it was. I think it was maybe $60 to $80 a person to go. So I think for that price at a museum, everything should be working for sure. And then just overview of the trains and how important they were to the Industrial Revolution, transportation, and how the world kind of built off of those. Again, those videos, if you weren't able to see them in the slides, I submitted them separately with it, so go take a look at those. And then the other exhibits were really good. I think the layout of this museum was fantastic, and I definitely recommend people going.